All right. So good night and welcome to the Light Body Healers podcast. We're doing from Mavericks to Masters. And today I have Edward Carossa. I love that name. So,
Thank
and I'm Chantel Selman, your hostess, and we are getting this started. I want to talk about everything that you've been up to. It's such an honor to get the chance to talk to you. And
you.
let's start with your journey, your story.
Sure. Thanks for having me here. Thanks for the introduction. Thanks for the excitement. I'm excited as well, and I love to share what I'm sharing next. Like my story isn't like a big deal, but I think what I actually end up finding out about the science and how it can help the human beings, human hate race. So that's what I think it's really a big thing, right?
Yes.
So I grew up as a sick child. The Carossa comes from my father. His last name was Italian because they were Italian immigrants during the war. So he was really poor, and he came to Rio de Janeiro to work, and my mother was also really poor. So when I was growing up, they were making a lot more money than they used to. So we end up having going to barbecue steak houses every like twice, three times a week. We were eating a lot of junk food. You know, they were drinking. They drink. My father used to smoke. We had a terrible lifestyle and more even more a terrible diet. Although my father, because he was growing up in a farm, planting what he ate, he ended up having better eating habits, but still. And I grew up like really sick, always with antibiotics, going to doctors, not knowing what I was doing wrong, always sick, and like performing bad in school and in sports, and I didn't understand why. Right? I was like, why me? But like you don't have the answers, you just keep going. And when with 17 years of age, I end up I used to play a lot of video games, and with video games I was the best. So I was always the best playing when I was young. So when I got into 17, I become a professional Counter-Strike player. I travel around the world competing in the most played computer game in the world back then. So it was like a profession, right? We were well paid to travel and compete in different tournaments around the world. So, like in one trip, we went to Sweden. We stayed like 2 weeks in Sweden. I probably gained 10 kilos in a couple of weeks. It was like insane. Terrible diet, smoking, drinking, playing video games the whole day because it was our job. So that got me even worse lifestyle habits than I had before. We were kids playing a computer game and getting a lot of money to do that. So I didn't know I should take care of myself. Like everybody drinks, everybody smokes, everybody eats junk food around me. I didn't know. And I started actually looking to diet and lifestyle because I couldn't play better and I couldn't play my best as I used to when I was 17. But when I was 17, like from 14 to 17, I started doing kickboxing. I started being really physically active. I started eating better, like better to what I knew back then. So I was pretty healthy back then. And I started like Counter-Strike. I started like gaining weight, smoking, drinking. So I was like, what am I doing wrong to not be able to play anymore? Because I was losing my spot on the team. And I used to love to what kid with 17 doesn't love traveling the world to shoot somebody in the head in a video game, right? It's like what kids do, right? So I started like looking into diet and lifestyle because I realized it could help me to play better. And I went to a lot of doctors, but they were all fat and sick. I was like, this is wrong, because they give you a lot of tips and, suggestions and medicine. And they wanted to do surgery. I was about to do surgery on my back and my nose. And I'm like, I'm only 22 years of age. I'm cutting myself open? No way. I started like looking like crazy, but I was already scheduled my surgeries because they were suggesting, but I kept like, it didn't feel right. And I went to a nutritionist back then, and she was like, take it easy on barbecues because it's carcinogenic. She didn't say that like the pyrolysis effect on the cooking, on the meat will cause heterocyclic amines and hydrocarbon polysaccharide aromatic polysaccharide hydrocarbons. Yeah, the name in English I always make it I get
Yeah.
confused. It's still cooked food toxins. There
Yeah.
are four leads that are actually carcinogenic. We know that for a long time. And she was
Yeah.
like, take it easy on milk because it's allergenic. And I used to have a lot of allergies. And I was like, take it easy. If it causes cancer and it causes allergy, I don't want to die from cancer. I don't want to have allergies that I had for like 22 years of age. Are you, like I kept like, this doesn't sound right. She doesn't, it sounds like my health professionals didn't know what they were talking about. And then I kept looking, and started lifting weights, started eating better, started doing everything that I knew back then to get my health back. And then one day I stumbled upon raw food diets. And I was like, I read on Google, what is raw food diet? And I got like thousands of searches on Google, like I reversed my diabetes, cancer, heart disease. I got better. I look better. I feel better. I function better. I was like, what? I already tried a lot of normal allopathic medicine. I tried naturopathic medicine, but I didn't try natural hygiene, the science of health. I didn't try to live healthy, really, really healthy, the way human beings lived for millions of years in nature. So I was
Yeah.
like, raw food. Yeah, but back then I still didn't have to got to know hygiene, right? I was just aware of raw foods, and I was like, okay, so 700,000 species lives on raw foods. Why the hell am I cooking, right? And I tried to like, I went downstairs because I started living with my parents again because I lost my spot on the team. And I said to my mom, like, don't cook for me. I'm not eating cooked food anymore, ever. And they were like, what? Are you insane? And I tried to bite on a sweet potato. I tried to eat unripe pineapples. I tried a lot of, like I didn't know better. I haven't, I never even harvested a banana bunch in my
Right.
whole life. I never saw like somebody harvesting a banana bunch. I didn't, I never climbed the fruit trees when I was young. I didn't have contact with that growing up in the city with such an industrialized lifestyle. So it was like a blessing when I found out everything. I was like, whoa, in 3 days, my allergies went away. I had allergies for 22 years, and my medical doctor was like, you had to do surgery because your nose, it is what it is. You were born like that. It's going to get better, but not that much better. And I was like, I tried everything. And when I stumbled upon raw foods and I tried it for like 3 days, I was like, what? Like how nobody told me this before. I was amazed. And I also was motivated to show the world what I have found because you start talking to people and they're like, nah, you're crazy, like get out of here, you're like wacko, crazy, vegan, boring, raw food, boring, blah blah blah. And I was like, what the, I couldn't believe it was like the Plato's cover when
Yeah.
the when he goes out of the car and sees so many things, when he comes back, nobody believes him. You know, like it is actually the Matrix. So it was so insane. I was like, and in 6 months, I actually did my first 24-day water fast after becoming a raw forest. And after the water fast, I started crying, like really, really crying a lot. And it was like my body talking to my spirit, maybe my microbiota talking to my brain. I couldn't understand what was going on, but it was like my body talking to me, like I was asking you this for 20 years. I don't know why that came on my mind, but it was like, it was something that I felt. Maybe I got like a lot of vaccines or antibiotics when I was 2 years of age and, damaged myself a lot. I don't know, but I know that I had like a lot of neurological problems when I was young. So it was like my body talking to me saying like, I was asking you to fast for 20 years. I just couldn't hear, I just could hear that from my body, but it was like my spirit in my body. It was like two different things. And I was crying, but I couldn't hold myself, It's not like you were crying because of a loved one or something like that. It was a different cry. It was coming from within, not from my mind. It was like the most different spiritual, feeling that I ever had. And I swear to myself in that moment, it was around the 22 days of water fast, 23. I don't remember exactly. It was almost when I was about to break. I swear to myself that I was going to tell the world what I have found and also not allow anybody to suffer like I did when I was young. So that led me to write already 10 books. I'm writing the 11th. I created a company to teach the science of health to Brazil. The YouTube channel now is arriving 500,000. We have like 2 Instagrams with 250,000, TikToks with like 100,000 each. Kawaii, like another YouTube channel. I'm all over the social media because I want to teach people, that you can be healthy. It's for free. You just have to earn it day by day with your healthful living, with your lifestyle choices. So since then, I haven't got sick in 17 years. I haven't got a sore throat in 17 years. I haven't got like a bad day in 17 years. I haven't got like, you know, I function. I'm so much more intelligent. My mind. I could write 10 books. I created a company. I learned to play tennis. I learned to surf. I became better in every single aspect of life, even if it's social, like managing myself and people. Like being more aware of like how to behave and to take care of people and not to be rude and like managing little details that some people like you talk too loud when you got into a place, or you're too rude for people with people without even realizing it. You get better with everything.
Yeah,
I have
the
like now
personality change.
I have like 350 fruit trees on my yard, rare fruit trees. I did so many things, and I'm much more alive than I ever was. So I have to, um, be thankful for the last hygienists, what the information they put out, so I could actually bring all this information, bring the most updated science, and create like really huge books. Like one of my first book is actually on Amazon. It's already hygienic fasting, nature surgery. I'm pretty sure that's the most updated fasting book in the world. So I'm trying to bring the books that I wrote in Portuguese to English because I'm pretty sure it could help a lot of people.
Yes, it would. It would. It would. That was an amazing beginning and story. So let's get into the science of it now, since that's where you want to go. That's where we're going. So it's amazing to hear the excitement of you progressing and becoming the best version of yourself. And how did your family and Brazil take this news? How has it been over the last 17 years in writing these books and getting the message out there? How are they reacting?
In the beginning, really bad. People don't understand, right? They don't like they don't accept it. It was like my dad when I was eating like watermelon when they were eating pasta, but I was like with a half of watermelon in the dinner table, right? And afterwards at dinner, I was always eating mangoes with lettuce, but I didn't know how to make a recipe. I didn't know anything about eating raw, right? So I was
Right.
just like holding the mango and holding the head of lettuce. I buy the mango, I buy the lettuce. I buy the mango, I buy the lettuce because I couldn't eat raw vegetables without like any seasoning, right? My
Right.
palate was like childish, so perverted, so sick that I couldn't do it. So I started like, and he was always looking at me like with disgust. And
Sure.
after a few years, I was always telling him that when I managed to get my health back, you're going to see it. Just wait and see it. And after like 5 years or 7 years, when I started like showing up in a lot of TV shows in Brazil, started like getting, more public attention, started like getting more money as well as I helped more and more people. He was like, you're right. Like he couldn't even, trash talk me because it is hard. Family, they want the best for you, but people don't understand what it goes far away from their capacity to it's too different, right? We got it so much away from nature that now the wrong things are the right things, and the right things are actually, like so it's all backwards, it's all changed because living on fast food, nobody questions you where you're getting your B6, B9, B3, blah, blah, blah. But when you're living on raw foods, they're asking like, where are you getting your vitamins, minerals, fatty acids,
Begin
proteins,
your
blah, blah.
proteins.
Yeah, it's insane. So they didn't react well in the beginning, but when they saw me water fast for 24 days at home, and I'm not suggesting anybody to do that. Me as a health professional, I have to motivate people to, and it's real. You can make bad mistakes when fasting alone at home. So
Yeah.
it's best to have supervision. But
Yeah.
although back then I didn't have money, I wanted to fast that bad, and I just and I think I'm pretty well mentally stable guy. Like if it's I have to do like this, I have to do like this, and I knew how to break my fast. I studied about it. Like I was conscious. I didn't do
Right.
I'm mentally stable with my choices. So a lot of people, try crazy things during a fast, and maybe the fast can go wrong. One of the reasons because of that. So I'm not suggesting nobody to do it at home. But when after they saw me do a 24-day water fast, 2 years, maybe in 2 years also living on fruits and vegetables, in raw food diet, they were like, like they saw a sick child with low productivity going to a really, really healthy, adult,
Right. Right.
go becoming really, really productive,
Right.
creating a company, doing sports every day, being responsible, working a lot more. And they were like, wow, like so they started to accept it and even to motivate me because they knew I was right.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I remember watching one of your videos and you were talking about your blood sugars being off, and the raw foods was one of the things that helped to balance this back out. So this was at the beginning stages. This is one of the issues that you were dealing with. because
Sorry,
in
I didn't.
Caribbean, diabetes is very prevalent.
Yeah, for sure. I had growing up really sick and ended up making me sick in so many ways. I had so many symptoms. But what most people don't realize it, we because of the medical mentality, the allopathic medicine view, we clump all together. It's like uh, and we separate things. But we as a hygienist, we actually clump all together. Because if you take a look, if you have diabetes, for example, you have a higher incidence of cancer. And if you have cancer, you have a higher incidence of diabetes. If you have diabetes, you have a higher incidence of autoimmune diseases, neurological diseases, heart disease, and things get intertwined. You cannot separate disease and sickness. So we call diabetes now Alzheimer's, for example, is suggested to be diabetes 3 because insulin resistance on the brain.
Yes,
Like
yes,
they give so many names to so many different diseases, but
yes,
it's just like a lack of health, right?
right,
So it's much more easy when you understand that disease is not a normal process. It's we were supposed to be healthy. And if we provide all the biological needs that the human body needs, the human body can deal with everything and maintain homeostasis.
yes,
That's the thing that people don't realize it. They're like they do a blood work and they see like their diabetes going up, like their blood sugar, fasting blood sugar, glycated hemoglobin, postprandial glycemia, and they see like, oh, I have diabetes, so I have to take a drug. Like I have to pump insulin into my body. But if you take a look, uh, and for example, if you go to medical mentality again, they're going to just talk about your diet because your diet, you get sugar out of it, and that raises the blood sugar. But if you think about it, if you have dysbiosis, a lack of equilibrium in your microbiota in your intestines, that leads to a poor glycemic control. If you're sleep deprived, you have a poor glycemic control. If you're sedentary, you have a poor glycemic control. If you're being exposed to environmental toxins like heavy metals and petrochemicals, you have a worse glycemic control. If you are overweight, you have a poor glycemic control. So it's not black and white. For sure, I had diabetes, but I don't agree with the classification anymore because it's not a problem of blood sugar control. It's actually a problem of lack of health because
yes,
there's so many uh, hormonal changes, biochemical changes, anatomical changes, microbiota changes, circadian disruption influence, lack of mitochondrial autophagy. There's so many things going on that it's actually a mistake to name diabetes, blood sugar, and that's the end. Just let's take a drug to lower your blood sugar.
yes,
If the drug cured the patient wouldn't be diabetic for the whole life and wouldn't
right,
be taking the drug for life, right? So yeah, I had all the symptoms of diabetes. That's why I actually wrote a book on anti-diabetes diets, how lifestyle can actually combat disease. And all my books are still in Portuguese besides hygienic fasting, right? This is on
right,
Amazon already. You bought on print on demand. So the book actually shows that there's even research from Walter Longo, the main fasting scientist in the world, showing that a fasting mimicking diet can actually reduces NGN3 driven beta cell regeneration. That you can actually, with a caloric restriction diet, plant-based caloric restriction diets, you can actually turn on the fasting genes, the SOX, FOXO, and AMPK, sirtuins, and you can actually start a repairing process that you can actually regenerate the cells in the pancreas that are actually damaging diabetes, type 1 diabetes. And that's the most important part. There's actually a gene being turned on that you only turn on when you're in your mother's womb. So when you fast, you turn on a gene that is only turned on when you're being born to
Wow.
generate those beta cell pancreatic, those pancreatic beta cells. So it's quite impressive if you think about it, and quite naive from human beings to just take a drug, look at the disease as something bad and attacking the body without understanding that it's just a lack of health, like neurotransmitters, enzymes, metabolic changes. The body, it's a machine, but it needs all the pieces together to work properly. And if we don't provide it, so for example, one of the things that I'm doing really wrong right now, and my blood sugar tomorrow will be off, will be worse, is viewing red, bright lights, white lights, these blue lights at night. I shouldn't be seeing this. So in the literature, we know that this actually raises your blood sugar in the next day. So I have dinner early. I don't see lights after 6 to 6:30 p.m. After it gets dark, I stay in the dark most of the days because I know that chrono disruption, chrononutrition, there's so many biological needs that human beings are now looking at, because your medical doctor is just going to look at your diet and say your diabetes is caused by your diet. But if you eat the same food at night that you ate in the morning, the glycemic response, the glycemic curve in your blood will be a lot different, because after 3 p.m., we are like pre-diabetic every hour that goes on after 3 p.m. So we have peripheral insulin resistance as the day goes on, because our biological clocks are getting ready to the night. We are made as diurnal creatures to eat at the day and to sleep at night. So, it's sad that people don't understand the science behind it, and, like they focus on too many wrong things. The usual recommendations, the usual diet, taking medicine. And for me, after 17 years of living hygienically, living this really healthy, natural lifestyle, I see things completely different. As for example, Japanese scientists created what they call forest therapy. So if you walk in a forest for a couple of hours, in several days after that, you inhale phytoncides. There are invisible gases that the plant secretes, so that actually lowers your blood sugar. So it's funny, but no diabetic knows that if they are close to plants and smell the gases that plants secrete, they're invisible and maybe even no odor, doesn't have any odor. Actually, it's a remedy for diabetes. So, but I had diabetes, and even though I eat like 3 kilos of fruit per day, my glycemic control is perfect.
Good. Okay, so explain to us natural hygiene as opposed to regular raw food. So you might have somebody that they're, oh yeah, I want to start this. I'm going to just start eating a lot of fruits and salads. It sounds to me like you're telling us a little bit about the time and stuff, that's all part of the natural hygiene. So tell us some more.
For sure. Hygiene is actually what we call the science of health. Why? Because we don't study pathology. We study health. We study the biological needs that human beings have to produce health. That means if health is the normal, why study pathology? What we should be studying it is actually the human biological needs. It's like the plants on my garden. I have like hundreds of fruit trees, and it's impressive that each different species thrive, survive, or dies when I plant on my garden. Why that happens? Why some die? Why some survive but doesn't grow properly or doesn't produce fruit as much, and some just blossom so many fruits and grow so big, and it keeps like growing. It's pretty easy. It's biological needs. For sure, plants have different biological needs than human beings. Plants are static, so they stay on the floor. They don't need exercise. Plants pull their nutrients from the soil, from the air, and from the sun. They synthesize the photosynthesis, etc. But still, they need nutrients, similar nutrients than us. And plants also need water. And if some plants can resist for months without water, some plants can resist for a lot less longer. Some plants need the cold to produce their fruits. Some plants need the summer and need to be hot. So that's the thing. What we don't understand is that human beings are similar to plants. It's not the same thing. We need different things from plants. We need hugs, we need love, we need, cares. Even, for example, loneliness is even worse than obesity for chronic diseases, because it's pro-inflammatory. So if you're a lonely person, you're inflamed. So, that's what hygiene proposes. We study health. We study what proportions of every little detail that people see as detail, but we see as a big things. For example, if you're sick, for modern medicine, you don't drink milk because milk can get you congested. But if you're not sick, you drink milk. But like, how does the milk knows when you're sick, when you're not sick? If you're healthy, you don't use radiation. But if you are sick, use radiation to see the sickness on your body. It's we just change the proportions. We don't change the biological needs in health or in sickness. For example, if a cow is sick, she'll eat less, but she continues a herbivore. Even if she's sick or if she's healthy, she still eats the same food. But for human beings, no. If you have diabetes, do a low carb diet. If you are like blah, 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 you do a omnivore diet. If you're blah, 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 you do a paleo diet. You do a Mediterranean diet. We're still chimps. We're still primates. Like most people don't like to be called an anthropoid primate, a chimpanzee. But like banana is the most eaten fruit in the whole world. Why we associate bananas with primates? But we don't like to be seen as primates. But we know that bananas are really frequently eaten around the world. Like it's so insane that people don't understand that the biological needs don't change. What it changes in health or sickness is the proportions. So if you are sick, you rest more and you eat less. If you're healthy, you eat more and rest less. You need more exercise. But
Yeah.
you still eat fruits and vegetables if you're healthy or if you're sick. So
Yes.
it's quite easy to understand that lifestyle medicine nowadays is getting so much attention in the health field. And these things in the lifestyle medicine were so much spoken about hygienists back then, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, and they were seen as quacks. They were being ostracized by medical doctors because, talking about diet nowadays is hard. Imagine 200 years ago, talking about human beings being frugivore animals made for fruits and vegetables and raw food diet. It was insane to talk about that back then.
Yeah.
So it's quite funny. But when you adequate chronobiology, that means like when you make your brain, your the nucleus, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, know the time of the day by side covers, the cues from the environment, you get more healthy. And when you get the chronobiology right, you get the chrononutrition right. I mean, eating at the right times of the day for our biological needs. When you get the exercise right, the amounts and the variety of exercise you need. When you get the diet right, like raw foods, primarily at least or exclusively, with fruits and vegetables being the biggest part of your meals. When you get the sunshine right, when you get the sleep right, when you get all these pieces of the puzzle together, health is the results. You don't even need to think about treating disease because it's no natural. It's not supposed to be happening disease. Disease happens when there's lack of biological needs, like my plants. When they are not thriving, I know that the soil is not good, the water is not enough, the sunshine is not enough. There's an orange tree. There's a lot of orange trees in my yard. The only orange tree that doesn't produce a lot of oranges is the one that are covered by avocado trees, jackfruit trees, and mango trees. When she doesn't get enough sun, she cannot produce good fruit.
Right.
So it's quite simple for the botanic. But if
Right.
you are a human being in the medical doctor's office, he thinks it's a lack of drugs and surgery. And don't provide you the biological needs. He just provides you more medicine, more surgery.
Yeah.
And that is, you cannot change a biological need that was adapted for millions of years
Yes.
in
Yes.
nature by a pill. You're still, it's like trying to make a drunk man sober without him stopping to drink. It's impossible. You have to provide a biological need for the body has the tools to work it out and to produce health. So that's hygiene. It's a completely different thing, even from the naturopathic medicine, because naturopathy is all about herbal medicines and chiropractors, osteopaths, like florals, homeopathic medicine, acupuncture. It's quite similar from allopathic medicine, but it's not as invasive and not as synthetic. But it's still, you're not going to the root cause of the problem. The root cause is the
Yes.
lifestyle. And it's so many small details. 1 hour less, instead of going to bed at 10 p.m., 11 p.m., go to bed as soon as the sun sets, like 8 p.m. And you see that your health improves a lot. And you get the diet right, your health improves a lot. If you get everything right, it's
Yes.
impressive. It looks like a miracle has happened. So that's pretty much it.
So the intermittent fasting is a big thing right now, trending everywhere. And really and truly getting up and eating early, finishing eating at around 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon is what our grandparents used to do. It was one of those things. They got up early, they would have a light meal, they ate heavy in the middle of the day, ate late in the evening. I find it extremely hard to get people to follow that simple principle now. Everybody wants to do this intermittent fasting, but they want to start at 12 and finish eating at 8 at night. And that is so wrong.
Yeah, that if people want to know more about that, I have videos on my YouTube channel, etc. But the best source of information in English, I would say, it's Sachin Panda from the Salk Institute, a scientist that talks about time restricted feeding. And for sure, that's one of the things I teach my patients, that intermittent fasting, the main part of your intermittent fasting must be at night and not at morning.
Yes.
Like for sure, I only eat at noon and at 6 p.m. around 5:30 ideally. Today I was
Right.
playing tennis, so I have to exercise at least 1 hour and a half a day. So when I prefer to do in the morning, but when I can, I end up doing in the afternoon. So
Right.
like I don't go to bed at night at too late, and I don't have dinner too late. I do intermittent fasting for 18 hours per day for 17 years now. I'm probably one of the longest intermittent fasting faster in the world because
Right.
I did many water fasts. I did already 40-day, 39-day water fast last year in Costa Rica. You know, like yeah, 40 days without food, people. Like it's just water. I know
Yes.
it sounds impressive. People think that like it's only God, only Jesus did something like that, but no, anybody can do it with enough health and body fat reserves. And not
Yeah.
too many body fat reserves because I don't carry too many around. And
Right.
even though I had low body fat reserve, I could go on for 40 days without food. So yeah, intermittent fasting is it's same eating actually. It's not intermittent fasting. We call intermittent fasting, but only cows eat every 2 hours or 3 hours. Only cows eat the whole day. Human
Yeah.
beings for the whole uh, time on earth, we have only done 2 meals, maybe even 1 meal, but we haven't
Right.
eaten like
Yeah.
grazers the whole day like we are eating nowadays. So it's not
Yeah.
intermittent fasting for me. That's like same eating for me, like
Yeah.
eat twice a day. Like even the Greek philosophers back then would usually say that people that eat more than twice a day are barbarians.
Yes. They just give it a title so that it's something that is trendy now. But really and truly, 100 years ago, people ate a lot less, and they ate when the sun was up, the heaviest meal. And I find that that is changing now for a lot of people. Um, so let's talk about the science and the future of where this is all going and how we're going to get more of the populace to really understand that the route is to go raw food.
For sure. Unfortunately, we need hard science to prove everything nowadays, right? So people just don't realize the how things work, right? So as long as the science keeps being updated and we keep proving things, right? It's how things are actually evolving, right? It's all about the science. I think
Right.
that's the most important part.
So what scientific breakthroughs has happened recently that you've been excited about?
Well, there's a lot of excitement about like I don't know. It's hard. It's good and bad at the same time. As more science comes out, we get more like motivated. But at the same time, it's so sad to see the world going the way it's going, right?
Right, it's
So
going in
like
the opposite direction.
yeah, it takes a while to it takes a while for people to understand what we are talking about, right? It's not from day to night that things just happen. But at the same time, like there's a lot of things to be motivated because uh all the things that actually hygienists used to say a long time ago are actually now becoming, standard, like it's becoming, for example, they used to talk about chrononutrition, eat when the sun is up and when the sun is going down. And now, like there's a lot of there's a lot of science about chrononutrition saying the same thing,
Yes.
but
Yeah,
just with the medical jargon, with the medical words,
you're right.
So it's pretty cool to see it.
Yes, it is. It is. It's really good to see that. Um, I find that people are getting into juicing a lot more now than before and doing smoothies. So those things have been very helpful in terms of integrating. Um, But in terms of me
Sure, I
eating,
agree. I agree completely. I agree completely. The,
yeah,
the, the, the thoughts about natural hygiene, about providing these biological needs is actually more and more becoming aware, but the public is becoming aware of it. It's becoming more, like uh, more mainstream.
yes, yes. So some things are getting integrated, but they're not taking it the steps of doing, um, and I'm hoping that it will get there. Now you're seeing things like people are doing vegan January for January, or they're doing meatless Mondays. So the integration of it can come from those concepts where people, when they're doing meatless Mondays, they can do it where it's all raw. They have a salad, they have a smoothie, they have a juice. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping that it will get to that point where it's more of a popular thing.
For sure. I hope as well.
Yes,
I,
yes, yes.
we have to be positive, right? We
Of
have to
course.
always be positive, but for sure, eh, we that already understand all this, we would expect to go faster, but it doesn't, right? But
Yes, it does. So leave
it,
me with something inspiring for those people coming behind us that really want to um hear your advice on becoming or getting into natural hygiene, eating more raw, living fresh foods. What advice would you give for them, especially those professionals that really want to put this into practice?
quite easy. Study, 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 study a little bit more, and study a little bit more. Uh, it's like it's quite easy, but it's like learning how to play tennis. I have been learning to play tennis for a year now, and in the beginning, the first days you suck. In the first month, you still suck, but you start sucking a little bit less and a little bit less. It's all about like uh, practice, 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 and more practice. Everything in life takes a while. And it's normal, like it was supposed to be like this. And it's okay. You just need to understand that nothing comes for free. You have to earn it. So, go after it. Like do your best. Just dedicate yourself, and you're going to see that it comes easy, but you have to earn it. You have to study. You have to be there every single day, like, like listening, 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 listening. And when you do that pretty frequently, you end up, uh, it becomes easier every day.
Yes,
I
yes,
got to the point where I'm now because You know, I have been doing this for 17 years. I have been studying this for 17 years. I have dedicated my life because I knew that it was the only way. It was the way to be healthy. I didn't want to, like die young, sick.
yes. And I hope that this reaches enough people that they can really hear the message that you have to give. Your practice, my practice, for all those that are coming behind us, we want to let you know that we've opened a pathway and we've practiced for a very long time. Um, I did my path through Iris Latem, and I found that he is blazing the trails in terms of longevity, in terms of eating raw, living, fresh foods. And it's been wonderful to see him go that way. So for those in Brazil, I mean, your population is about 50 times larger than Barbados. We're very small, but the pace of eating fresh foods would be, and the amount of stuff that y'all have there in terms of fruits and vegetables is so varied and amazing. It's it will be a dream come true to visit Brazil, for me, and to just be part of that South American vibration where they have so much fruit trees in one place. We don't have that
Sure,
here.
come. At least for me, the best place in the world for frugivores is Thailand. I must say, I love Brazil, and like I'm I'm suspicious to talk about Brazil because I love it, but like Thailand is even better for fruits. But for sure,
Right,
the Brazilian climate and Brazilian people, I love it as well, and I don't have anything, like I cannot complain. And
right. And so it's
massively.
hot there all year round? What is the climate like?
Yeah, in Rio de Janeiro or up to the north, it's always hot. It's always good weather. So I cannot complain about that.
Right, and that's where you are.
Yeah, exactly. I'm in Rio de Janeiro.
Right, okay. All right, so that's beautiful. So tell me some contacts so that we can anybody that sees this video can get in contact with you. Those that want to get your books, so we know where to find you.
It's everything on Saúde Frugal, right? It's my website. It's my or Dr. Carossa, Drcorassa, or Saudafugal. Saúde Frugal means frugal health in English, and
Right.
Dr. Carossa because I'm a doctor of nutrition.
Yes. Yes. It has been such an honor to talk to you. Thank you so much for taking the time.
My pleasure. I hope people understand that health is produced by healthy living and we can heal the planet because we're going the wrong direction. That's for sure.
Yes. Yes. And I want to talk to as many people as I can to really help move this cause forward. Thank you.
See you soon.
Take care.